Okay, so what else? What else you guys remember out of this experience of going back and visiting our class? What are some of the? Let's focus on the positive stuff, positive things. What are some of the positive things that we noticed? The fact, what else did they remember?
Shafia was told to present and share in front of everyone, in front of our class, like the poster and explain it. I think she did a really good job at doing that, at speaking in front of us, because I remember that she was really shy before.
Yeah.
And then really stood up and did it like with no hesitation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that was something
that was a conquering of self for someone who was absolutely petrified.
Yeah.
Before she was petrified to even stand up and say anything. She was the only one that, when she was doing her presentation to Stephen class, that she had to redo it because she was not able to do it, and I was very firm with her, and so she went back, and Elsie helped her, and then they did it together. But this time she just volunteered, which was different. So that was a growth. That was a very good leap. What else did we see?
It was exciting to see the seniors, to see where they're going for their colleges
that was
universities.
wonderful. That was a question in my mind. I wondered, because last year when we went to the celebration or commencement or graduation or whatever, there was maybe one person was going to Cal State or UC. Most went to community college. And I said, we have all these four, all of them are going somewhere. Just curious to know if the program that we did has something to do with their success. I'm just curious about that. Do you guys know anything?
I know that Natalie went to help Shafia and Alejandra with their letters, so that might have given them the confidence to apply to more places.
And that could be.
She's also very ambitious.
Yes, determined, very determined. Because she said that her parents came here, and she's determined that she's going to make somebody out of herself. She would be the first to attend college. I'm just curious to know, out of four of them, all four of them are going to either Cal State or UC, and several of them, they got accepted. I'm curious to know if this particular class in Palomares has more acceptance in colleges, or this was something to do with the way we work with them. So what else do you guys remember?
I know that some of the students have started actually peer counseling people.
Oh yeah.
So they shared how they've been paired up with, I don't know, did they mention, was it middle school or middle schoolers?
I think so.
Well, they've been paired up with middle schoolers and have been talking with them and helping them. And I think it was Shafia or maybe Elsie. They were sharing how they've really taken the skills of like creating like a safe and like warm environment and making the person feel very comfortable and like sharing to share. So that was like
Shafia was saying
really
that.
nice to see how they've taken what they've learned.
Which I was very, very delighted to hear that. Because those are things that came out of those small groups that they did, and how we try so hard to build that relationship with them. Because initially they gave us a hard time. What else do we remember? Just trying to look back at their conversation, and also, I remember Alejandra said that she is using the skills that she learned in controlling and managing her own anger and emotions in all her relationships. So she said that's one thing that she notices that she has learned and takes with her. What else did they say in that group that we were sitting around one another? And drawings. Well, so what did you put in there?
What do you mean?
You were reflecting with them too, right? As they were reflecting, you were reflecting on the things you learned. So what are some of the things that you would look back and say, oh, these are some of the things that I learned from this experience?
I know I definitely became more comfortable with speaking in front of people. It felt like a leadership. I don't know. I've never been to a leadership workshop, but I imagine this is something like it, because we had to do our own small groups and guide the group towards getting something done and helping them to accomplish the task and the questions, and facilitating the conversations. And that's something I'd never done before.
What is leadership? Because most people think leadership is about you telling others what to do, or you're showing others what to do. And really the reality of leadership is providing opportunities for others to shine, facilitating so others can show their strength. That is really the essence of leadership. Leadership is not to tell them what to do or to become the leader, stand in the front. That is a secular meaning of leadership. That's a political meaning of leadership, which is not the best of leadership. But good leadership is when you bring the best out of other people. And so all you did was every day you were there, you were trying to bring the best out of them, creating the icebreakers, doing small groups, participating with them, and becoming one with them, role modeling with them. Those are all leadership skills. Every trainer might see leadership in a different angle, but I personally see it as how can you role model what is it that they supposed to learn, and that our model was all about that. It's not about, it wasn't about telling them, it was about showing them, joining them. And you guys did wonderful job. That was why there were so many of us. So you think that you became a lot more comfortable speaking?
Yeah, definitely.
What else?
Yeah, I don't know. This whole experience has been so amazing and so unique. Like Valerie's saying, like we, like going into it, we don't really have like all the information. So it was kind of like, yeah, we're there and we're like learning and growing along with them, which like no other program really like is set up like that. And so I learned to kind of be okay with being like really flexible and like not knowing everything. It's like it'll work out. Like not being like completely prepared.
Right? That's true.
But still being able to like go in there and like learning those leadership skills and just like let's just do it and see what happens, and like we'll talk about it afterwards and then like fix it for next time, and like just like that continual like I don't know process where you're like analyzing it and like changing.
Are you saying that when you went in there you had no idea what we were doing?
Well,
not all the time, Keyvan. But it's interesting that you say that, because now I'm thinking like, how is it that we felt that was okay? But then it's because Keyvan was there, and you made it feel safe enough, and you would always say that like, if you mess up, it's okay, I'm there, I'll jump in and I'll help you. And so we felt free and like safe enough to take those risks of like teaching them a song just by yourself, or like saying a story, or like just in front of like these students who just like speaking in front of them, and like and introducing a subject or a topic and facilitating a discussion. Like we felt safe enough to do that, even though we'd never done it before, because you were there to support us.
Which means what? Which means we need to have support. Well, we don't need to be completely dictated to the T in order to do something.
Yeah.
But how about the preparation that we did?
Yeah, we did. We were prepared a lot.
But
for hours. Yeah. For 4 hours. Yeah.
So
Sometimes,
the preparation was there, but what wasn't there, you had no way of foreseeing the reaction of the students.
Yeah.
That you could not prepare for,
Yeah.
because how could you prepare for it? It only has to be as a result of experience. Because the worst of it would have been for us to sit down and imagine what they would do. And then that imagination would be vain imagination, because that's not what they do.
Yeah.
So we had to leave that part open and be ready and willing to be okay with
Yeah.
not knowing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and be flexible.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
sit back and then later afterwards
Yeah.
hash it and look at it and consult and then
Yeah.
come up with the solution. So it was definitely a big part of our process was reflection on the actions and on the knowledge and on the design and changing it.
We would. I'm happy we're going into this, because now, like, things are coming back to me. Of like, we would plan something, and then gauging the reaction of our students and seeing where they are, we would be like, okay, we need to keep focusing on this, and then everything that we planned would go out the window, and we would just wing it. But like, Keyvan is like a master of like being flexible and like going with it. And so I think one of the things that she kept emphasizing is meeting the students where they are and walking with them,
Yes.
and like working with them from there on how to
Yes,
strengthen
yes,
their
yes.
skills. Yeah.
Actually, you hit that on the nail, Valerie. It is, how would have been otherwise if, let's say the contrary, that we would have become fixated
Yeah.
on wanting to make sure that they do certain thing, right? And we go over there and we say, we want you to be doing this, and they would not budge. So then we would be like the farmer who would put a noose around the neck of this cow and wanted to take the cow all the way to somewhere, and the cow wasn't going, it was digging its heel, and we would be basically either having to shame them and force them or criticize them, and oh, you guys are not moving, oh, you guys are not excited, oh, you guys are not enthusiastic. And so we would be demoralized, they would be demoralized, and the whole thing would not go anywhere. What did we do instead? We say, okay, they come and they're all like that. And we said, okay, what is the solution? We're going to have to find something that they're excited about. And what did we do? We came up with
Icebreakers. Yeah, and after we came up with a few icebreakers, we came up with this project of having the students themselves find an icebreaker to share with everyone in the class and lead that icebreaker and like, teach it to us so that we could all do it together.
Exactly. So we can say this is a formula. And actually this morning, Nathan was on the phone talking to me, and he said, this is how I understand the magic of the plans of the House of Justice. And it says, you need to really dedicate yourself, find a path of service. Around it, you can build friendships, right? So I want to do something with the high school students, and I don't say exactly what, because I don't know, because it depends on them, it depends on us, it depends on how they are going to be acting, where they are. It depends on so many unknowns. So all we had to do was to say, yes, we want to work with the high school students, right? And we want to do something that they really need. So we had to assess their needs. So I think they are saying that they like stories, and we identified. They like stories, they like communication, they like relationship, they like friendship, they like all of this. Oh, so we said, okay, we're going to make a program has all of these things in it, right? So it was really dependent on what everybody else consulting and coming together. In a way, we pulled them into our consultation. They were part of our ongoing design of this curriculum, right? Because without their participation and their willingness and their consultation, we would be pulling the cow into the field and they wouldn't be going. And then discovering our own passion, how to serve, and then finding an avenue to serve, and then building a friendship amongst ourselves, staying with the writings, using the guidance of the writings, the prayers, sincerely all of us, being guided by that, being guided by the need where the kids were, meet them where, it became magical recipe for success. What do you say?
And like another way that we found out about where they were is through the journals.
Oh my god.
A lot of the times we wouldn't even know if they understood what we were trying to say, unless like if it wasn't for the journals, we wouldn't have.
That is
known
so
a lot,
true,
of
so
what they were thinking.
true, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, because that was one thing that we learned actually the hard way, that these kids were not going to share their own inner thoughts and feelings. They just didn't feel safe, and we did not know. We just took it for granted that they are each other's classmates and they don't care, but that wasn't the case. You absolutely right. I forgot all about the journals.
I know. That's very important.
They played a big role. The journals played a big role.
Yeah.
What else?
I had a memory of one of the journals. Do you know, like, one of the students thought we were weird. So we didn't have them sit in desks. Like, we didn't have desks in our room. And so we would like sit in circles or do small groups. We would do icebreakers. And I guess not every class does that, you know? Like, yeah, I guess we're kind of weird. But then at first, like, we had to process, like, how to react to that. Or if we were going to react to it. Like, were we going to let this, like, all of a sudden change our spirit and respond to being called weird? Or should we just continue to shine and help them be radiant and being focused on that? And I remember, like, we talked about it.
Yes. Because the fear is when you go with a fixed idea that I'm going to teach you this, and then you have a booklet and you're going to be following the instruction and following the book, and they're not going along with you, the risk is that you become critical of them and you find fault, that they don't appreciate, so they don't know any better, and how can they do that, and we will become reaction to them, and that would be the end of the whole project. Really want
Yeah, no, but it didn't. We overcame.
Yeah, that was those reflections I thought that we had together, especially after the sessions, and with the attitude of this is not about who's right or who's wrong. This is about how do we make this friendship work. It was about the friendship. The spirit of friendship. How do we find out what works? It was about discovering what works. And that's how I think the icebreakers came into the picture. We have to go find icebreakers. So what else do you remember that we had to work on? The butterfly wants to join us. Maybe that's Joni. You know? She says, I like this conversation. She's now in the upper kingdom and looking down. She says, I like that conversation. I think Joni likes that conversation because she was that kind of a teacher herself. She would walk with the student and accommodate where the student was. That's why she was such a good teacher. She wouldn't be fixated on what she had prepared. It's good to be prepared. You have to be prepared. But you also need to be prepared with a wider circle. So when your student is not moving into the circle you have created, you have still room for the student to be okay and to be part of the program. And that's what I'm trying to look back and see what else did we have, which we learned from in our own right.
I think for coming up to the date of going to the courthouse, we had the students come up with a presentation to share with this other classroom that was going to come visit us on Wednesdays.
Yes.
And the students really rallied around what they were going to teach and what was important to them and like what topic that they were going to teach to this other classroom.
Yes.
And I remember when the other students came, it was just full
Yes.
of like all these students, I don't know, like 30 of us in
Yeah.
that room.
Yeah.
And just our students just stepping up and being in front of them and speaking eloquently,
Yes.
sharing what they had learned about halt and listening skills and body language.
De-escalation.
De-escalation.
Yes.
And I think that was a really good, like just having them kind of in a way take ownership of what they had been learning and be able to say it in front of all these students. And we saw them go through what we had gone through in the beginning. It was like, I don't understand. Like, this is so important. This is so valuable. This will help you throughout your life. I don't know why they're not getting it.
Yeah.
They were saying the same thing.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, they were great. But like, I just like it was interesting to see them, like, because that was something that was different. Like that was one of the things that we had to be flexible with, is having everyone. Because for this field trip, what was the teacher? Mr. Donahue's class and our class. We wanted all of the students to be on the same page for this field trip to visit Dorothy Nelson's courthouse. And so one of the ways that we did that was to have our students give presentations about the skills that we had been learning of de-escalation and conflict resolution and mediation and just transformative mediation, and just teaching that to Donahue's students.
Listening skills.
Yeah.
Talking skills.
Yeah.
Using the
star.
storm.
Yeah, the star.
That was another lesson that we learned ourselves, because initially we thought, and we discussed it, and we consulted, and we came to understand that we need to change our plan. Because initially we thought, well, we're going to show a few videos of Dorothy Nelson. Remember?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then what happened? We changed our mind.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
changed our mind.
Because we showed one session, and then the projector broke, and then the other thing didn't work, and the equipment did not work.
internet
And
wasn't working.
And so we had obstacles. Instead of becoming frustrated with the obstacles, we took it as a lead and guided our path outside of having to use the videos. And we decided, well, why don't we use our students to really exercise their own skills that they learn, instead of just showing everybody the videos. So we took this obstacle, this test, and made it into a stumbling block. I mean, made it into
A stepping stone.
we took this stumbling block and turned it into a stepping stone through consultation.
Yeah.
See, that's another thing, that our consultations had to be constantly finding the way. It wasn't any cookie cutter of anything. There was a vision, but there was not anything that we had a written document say, okay, we're going to go according to that. That was one of the strengths of this curriculum. It was made in collaboration with the students. With them in mind, we made it. We created it. So hopefully we will write it. It was interactive in the real essence of the way. And you're right, we even used their interesting journals.
Yeah, definitely.
Towards the end, I remember when Shafia came to present her thing before, so that she can present it to the student. I kept asking her, are you ready? And she, with her shy self, and just barely she would say yes. And so, in a way, then she told me, don't ask me anymore, because I'm ready. So several times I said, do you need any help? So when she came over there and she stood, she could barely say anything of any value. And I knew that she would be embarrassed in front of all these kids if she stands there and I let her go like that. So anyway, so I really stood very firm with her and did not settle with the fact that she was going to be standing up like that and really embarrassing herself. So I stood firm with her and I said, you need to change it. And her reaction, you remember what it was initially? Her reaction was...
She cried, right?
She cried. She was upset. I was pushing her. And in one of the journals, one of the other students, Sienna, had mentioned, oh, Miss Keyvan, you were too hard on her. Actually, Veronica went over there and she started hugging her and catering to her and stuff like that. And I thought, yeah, I was very, very firm with her, but I was not harsh with her. It was two different things. I was firm with her. Because not being firm as a teacher has something to do with your expectation of the student. So a lot of times we notice in education, teachers, they have a much lower expectation from African American students, from minority students, and from girls. They have much higher expectation of boys, especially when it comes to math and all those subjects. So therefore, they're a lot firmer with boys when it comes to math, and so they excel. And as a result, our girls don't go into engineering and the fields that has to do with math. And our African American and minority students don't do as well. So it's not a service we do to our students when we are not firm with them. I'm not saying being harsh, but firm. I think that what you just said, that Shafia volunteered and went in the front when we went and stood there and took the risk and spoke, had something to do with that painful experience, because she had to face it and conquer herself, basically. She had to conquer herself. And as an educator, as a trainer, you have a responsibility to not decide that this kid is incapable, never, but rather to always give everyone the chance to prove themselves, but support them, nudge them as much as you can, without breaking them, but nudge them so they would come out of their comfort zone. That was another thing that you always talked about.
Yeah, getting out of my comfort zone. Yeah, I did that a lot, I think.
You did?
I think so. You have so many pictures of me.
What?
Yeah.
Which ones do you remember?
Oh my gosh. There was a time I brought ears. And I did like a roar, and you took a picture of it. I think it's on her blog. Check it out. Yeah. www.cgie.org/blog. And all my embarrassing pictures.
That was a comfort zone thing?
That was getting out of my comfort zone, I think. Yeah. Even just now, telling you guys to watch.